So the band's coming in here then. Jarvan aimed, of course, at Hercubot, and Nivea towards Frog, and Kassadin towards Ocelot.
Yeah, they don't want to have those assassins in there. They don't want to have Hercubot on his most comfortable jungler. It's also probably his most impactful jungler. Played 5 games with it, won 4 of them, and his KDA is 14. 14. Yeah. So that's fantastic.
That's kind of ridiculous statistics, to be honest with you. 14 KDA playing with that on, which is just incredible. He is actually the top KDA player right now. Just behind him is Candy Panda. They've actually got the bang on same at 7.4.
So from last weekend's performances and this weekend's performances, they have shot up the rankings. Candy Panda was there last weekend. Hercubot from then till now has jumped up 3 spots from 4th to 1st in KDA. And then of course 3 members of Gambit rounding out the bottom 5.
So, picks coming in then. Lux was the final ban, by the way. So, 3 bans all aimed at Froggen in this game. They let Thresh through, though. And that is going to be played, of course, by Crepo this time around. Elise and Nasus, which you would expect after, you know, what we've been seeing recently, of course, the Nasus in the jungle, and that Elise to go down towards Nif in the support role.
Yeah, so he's probably going to get his comfort pick, which will make him very, very happy. In terms of AD carries, Varus is still available, as is everybody else, but so are the likes of Zed, Kayle, etc. So we know we've been seeing a lot of Zed being played by Wicked, so that's definitely a possibility. In terms of junglers, we have been seeing Snoopy run Volibear, so that's a possibility. Alternatively, he may consider going for something like Nautilus, which is what he did fairly recently as well.
Well, it will be that Varus locked in with Zed, so Yellow Pete's in there. Zed, of course, could go to Wicked in the top, but also could end up with Froggen in that middle lane as well. SK here, probably going to pick up an AD carry in this round. I would expect, since they got last pick, that they'll leave their middle champion for last.
So AD carry in top lane. I was about to say Ashe because it was paired with Elise last time, and maybe even Renekton in the top lane. How can we forget Shen? Kevin's Shen performances have been so good. Played him 4 times, only won 2 games with him at the moment, but he's a very solid Shen player. The global presence that it's going to offer you is very good, and we might expect the 1v2s as well. I still remember Elise and Ashe going into the top lane, and we actually see Nif picking up, I think it was 3-0-1 with that Elise the first time we've seen it.
Yeah, incredible play from him in that game. Let's have a look then what EG are going to round off with. We've got the AD carrying support with Thresh and Varus. We've got Zed there, which could end up being with Wicked, could end up being with Froggen. But I think Froggen's going to go a little bit more standard here. I think he wants to beat Ocelot for one last time this season.
So again, we find SK Gaming leaving that last pick to a counter pick. They do this every single time. I'd have to actually double check, but I believe the vast majority of their games have been them securing that last pick counter for their opponents. If Malzahar is locked in, this is going to be Renekton for Wicked in the top lane, Jungle Malzahar for Snoopy. Again, he's gone back to his A to Z of jungling. And then, of course, in the mid lane, Zed for Froggen.
Yeah, Froggen having Zed in that mid lane. What's Ocelot going to finish off with here? He's Kassadin not available to him this time around. Kayle, of course, is up there. And against Zed, makes perfect sense.
Yes, it does. It makes absolute perfect sense. The one thing that I would like to keep my eyes on is whether or not Ocelot can get his interventions off. To be very honest with you, his timing on that ability is a little bit shaky. Many weeks ago, we seen him playing a couple of games. It might even have been against Dragonborns. And I distinctly remember him missing 2 or 3 of them in the river. Earlier this weekend, he was playing, and to be fair, he was stunned or taunted, or there was crowd control effects which were affecting his intervention, but it is an ability which he does tend to miss fairly regularly, and we'll see whether or not he can make it work this game, because if he misses it against either the suppression of Malzahar or the death mark of Zed, it will cost him his life.
And we have seen, as I said before, that Malzahar once already played by Snoopy that time around. It didn't win the game, but it didn't look too bad, to be honest, that Malzahar.
I was fairly impressed by it because of the way Snoopy actually handled the champion. He didn't put any points into his W, the pool on the floor. He was maxing out the Q and the E for the dot and for the silence. And he timed his ganks very well. His Voidlings have got 2 stages of growth. After 7 seconds, they'll mutate once, get some additional attack speed and damage, etc. Then after a further 7 seconds, they'll mutate a second time. And he was timing his ganks so that they would just mutate the second time and then go in there with the suppression and the dot and allow his Voidlings to tear apart his opponents. So we'll see if he can replicate that this time around. But I feel like there's a lot of HP and a lot of survivability. Elise is going to repel. You're going to have the Crystal Arrow from Ashe, intervention from Kayle. The dog's going to become a giant dog. And of course, Shen's just going to dash away and put his own shield on.
Them to throw out their normal level 1 strategy.
So level 1 for Evil Geniuses, I think, is going to be a little bit weaker than that of SK Gaming. When you add into the fact that you can have the slow from Reckoning of Kale, you've got the volley, which is an AoE, plus that guaranteed critical hit. It's very, very scary to deal with. If EG do decide to go for an invade, they'll have to be very tightly grouped and probably rely on either a stun from Wicked or that chain, the death sentence from Crepo. So we'll see how they play this one out there. Grouped up as 5. And it does look like they're going to move in, but they will walk straight into Hercubot's vision range very, very shortly.
Yep, gonna get in there. Hercubot, don't think he was spotted as the hook comes in. A little bit off to the left-hand side, but EG have successfully got themselves into the jungle of SK Gaming right now. A ward put down on top of the red buff. That's been pinged right there, so I think they saw that ward was in fact put down by Evil Geniuses.
So swing and a miss, but we'll see if they decide to go for it again. Crepo is moving into position. He'll have that death sentence available shortly. In the end, they decide to back away, but it looked like they got that ward, so it did play into their favor.
10 gold. That's what they lead by right now.
Breaking the bank.
Load of money.
Breaking the bank.
Early level. So start here in the jungle. It's going to be, of course, EG on the Wolves. Snoopy starting in there with his jungle. Malzahar. And on the top side, looks like Hercubot will go for Golems first.
And of course, you've got a very sustained build here from Wicked in his top lane. He's gone for 7 health pots as well as wards up there on the top. He's going to be wanting to fend off against Kevin for as long as possible. Both Renekton and Shen have obviously got sustained from their Qs effectively, and they're going to be staying alive there as long as they can, just trying to CS and waiting to become an impact. But there's no teleport from Evil Geniuses, so to counter that Stand United, they're going to have to be in the right place at the right time.
They're going to put 2v1 in this middle lane as well. Froggen's going to go up top here. That will be against Ashe and Elise, and we're going to have the Varus Thresh versus Kale in the middle lane, which allows Shen and Renekton to have that 1v1 in the bottom.
So Ocelot's going to be able to farm fairly well once he gets 1 or 2 levels into that Righteous Fury. His E, the splash damage, and again, he can control waves from a relatively safe distance. Also, the fact that it's a shorter lane means it's a little bit safer to have that 1v2, but we'll see how well he can CS under pressure as Kevin does taunt up Wicked.
Yeah, already bashing against each other for this one. Wicked going very low. He did have that full pots and wards start from this one though, so he's got a lot of health to regen from that situation. Ocelot is going to have a bit of a tough time in this one, of course, up until 6 before he gets that intervention. That's a dangerous time for him.
Yeah, very, very dangerous indeed. He is handling himself relatively well, keeping up at least with his sort of opposite number, who in this case is obviously Froggen in the top lane. We do see in the bottom, Snoopy's coming around. Wicked, he is going to get the stun onto Kevin.
Yeah, but he's already shadow dashed away from that one, which meant that he didn't really see the effects of that stun on him, and he gets back to safety. Snoopy just letting his presence be felt there in that one. So EG already putting down some damage onto this middle turret. Hercubot going to come in and give Ocelot a bit of backup. So
we do see Snoopy still hanging around in that bottom lane, so he's applying pressure to Kevin just to try and give some, some levels, some time to Wicked to farm up and try even it out. We also see that the red pot was drank by Kevin in that bottom lane, so he's got that fortitude pot busy, ticking over, and in effect. In the meantime, Yellow Pete and Crepo are shoving down this mid lane turret, and they're doing fairly well as far as CS goes.
Yep, Candy Panda and Nif also applying pressure to Froggen's turret in the top lane, already down to half HP, so that's a nice little start from then. As soon as Froggen comes out, he's getting hit there with the arrows coming in. Kevin, is he going to get baited in here? I mean, Snoopy is, of course, in that bottom lane, or was there. He's now started to finally back away to his jungle, though.
So we'll see how this game pans out at the moment. Absolutely nothing separating these teams as far as gold is concerned. And in terms of the solo laners, CS is bang on even here. So a fairly slow start to the game. Wicked is going to get caught out as Hercubot is snuck into the bottom half of the grass. And I don't think Wicked's aware of this. So he's got to be very, very careful. There's no vision and no wards there. If Hercubot gets a good taunt, he may be in trouble.
Yeah, and Wicked is actually going to face check straight into that one. He gets taunted up. The Ignite is down. Is he going to fall here? Yes, he is. First blood to Shen. And the face check again from Wicked. We've seen that from him before. And that given in another game, first blood away as well. And it's the same scenario here.
Yeah, you can't afford to do that. They've caught Ocelot in the mid.
Yeah, hooked in there, but with Snoopy around, they still didn't quite have that damage. I don't think they expect that hook to really land there, which is why they didn't react so quickly to that one, but they are doing a lot of damage to this middle outer turret. It may fall here as well. There's a good amount of minions here for Evil Geniuses, and that outer turret will go down. That's the first one of the game. What a valuable start for EG.
Such a great start, and something you've got to remember is how powerful that Malefic Visions is from Malzahar. The E spell will be dealing damage to each minion, bouncing over to the next. As soon as Snoopy cast that in the mid lane, Ocelot backed away. He didn't want it to bounce onto him, which meant that 1 or 2 extra auto attacks to help clear out the wave wasn't allowed, it wasn't permitted. Look at the positioning here from Evil Geniuses. They're moving into the top lane. Red buff is there, and they're going to come in behind Candy Panda and Nif.
This is ridiculously dangerous now. Nif is in all kinds of trouble. He is going to repel there, but will he get away? The hook lands onto Candy Panda. The Flay will knock him back. Both players from SK here choosing to use those flashes. Snoopy going to flash in. Is he going to get the kill? It's Crepo that picks it up in the end. Candy Panda can't really push them back here. Nasus was coming up to help out as well, but in the end, great play out of Evil Geniuses, and they came through the jungle of SK, which is why they didn't get spotted. Candy Panda went down the river to put that ward in there, but of course they went around it.
Yeah, they didn't anticipate that at all, especially when dealing with the jungle Malzahar. You almost wait for him to be 6. It was like when you had ganks from Warwick all that time ago. You wait for him to get his suppression before it's very useful. However, in this particular situation, Evil Geniuses land every single ability that they need to, and it was Crepo's Ignite that dealt that final tick of damage, and scumbag Crepo picks up the first kill for Evil Geniuses.
As we are used to here, by the way. As Wicked here and Kevin also doing a bit of damage to each other. Wicked came back into that lane after giving up first blood with his face check with a Doran's Blade. Obviously, he did start out with a bunch of pots and the pink and green ward. You do see the Giant's Belt actually coming out from Kevin, who did pick up that first blood. So nice boost that he got from that one. On the other side, though, the Sightstone is already there for Crepo, and that's why, with the support getting the kill there, it's not always a bad thing.
So this is something that Crepo likes to do. Instead of going for a GP10 early, he believes that the vision is more powerful, so does oftentimes go for that Sightstone, the HP that it gives you, and obviously on a champion like Thresh, you want to dive in there once you land the death sentence. It works very well into your favor. One thing that Snoopy, even though he's got an assist, he is very far behind in terms of CS. He's level 5 to the level 6 of Hercubot, and there's a 20 CS disparity between the lanes, so he's got to be very, very careful with that. We were talking about the Giant's Belt on Kevin. Wicked's gone double Doran's Blade, so that money's been invested into stats now, and it's obviously not going to be upgradable later, so we'll see if Wicked can make that work.
Yeah, check between the AD carries as well. Yellow Pete having a better time of things right now. All-star AD carry for Europe, of course, 63 to 51. Vamp Scepter, Doran's Blade, Boots of Speed. On the other side, Zerkree's double Doran's for Candy Panda. There's a blue buff. Actually, it will be given over to Snoopy this time around. Of course, the other alternative to that is, we see the Vamp Scepter coming in as well there for Zed up until now. And Ocelot going to be headed his way up towards that Nash's too. But Crepo and Yellow Pete have both come down now into this bottom lane. Looks like they're going to be hunting for turret number 2. Not a lot that Shen can really do against 3.
So this is something that we've seen from Evil Geniuses earlier today as well. When they were playing against the Wolves, they played the map very, very well. They controlled the towers, they controlled the engagement. So I really, really like this particular, push strategy from them. They've caught out Kevin, a little bit of damage down. So they've got 2 towers to the 1 of SK Gaming. It's obviously just going to give them all of that pressure across the map, especially now that they have positioning for Dragon.
Yeah, look at that, pushing that bottom lane right up on towards that inner turret. We do have Nasus there to help cover, but 3 men there for EG. Make that 4 as Snoopy comes down for the middle. He doesn't have Smite available, but they should have enough damage here to take this one away. No vision in the immediate area by SK. Looks like this is going to be the Dragon for EG. So immediately, this is something that we see it's a little bit different here from Snoopy. He's put a single point into Null Zone, the W, and that's going to deal percentage HP damage. 4% of their maximum health per second. There's obviously a cap number when dealing with monsters, but it does mean that they can shred Dragon down very, very quickly, and obviously use that to help ensure it gets taken safely. So well played to EG. As far as objectives go, they're firmly in the lead. And we see Candy Panda and Nif actually pushing that top turret very heavily as well. Froggen Going to come back in time to deal with that threat. He's currently ahead just about of Ocelot when it comes to the current CS totals. Ocelot has now got that Stinger finish, by the way, that we were talking about earlier.
So that's going to help him at least, you know, CSing on the bottom lane. Wicked and Kevin going toe-to-toe. Hercupod's ghosted up. He's going in.
Yeah, they're going to go for Wicked. We do see the Wither put down. Spirit Fire actually will be avoided here by Wicked, but the Ignite is burning. Can he get away? Flash over the wall, and they decide not to follow him in with that one.
Great play by Wicked to be able to get to safety there and get away from that. So Summoner Spell traded for Summoner Spells. Hercupod burned his Ghost and Kevin burned his Ignite. So well played by them to at least get that out. And of course, Wicked's ultimate Dominus will be available fairly shortly. It's not the longest of cooldowns.
Slot having to farm up those Wraiths. Obviously, he did have that 1v2 lane, and his tower was taken very, very early on, which means not in the safest of positions, but with intervention and the flash still available to him, he can farm in somewhat confidence there. But things, you can see how the whole map has really changed since those early turrets went down. The fact that you've got there Ashe and Nasus was even hanging around the middle, as we are going to see Froggen going now on towards Ocelot. There is the intervention used, and also Stan United coming in. The lantern was thrown down by Crepo, but Froggen said, nah, don't need it.
So I feel like a little bit of a premature Stand United was used there. Ocelot used his intervention perfectly and he dodged all of the damage from Deathmark. He's not out of the water now. The Crepo just misses that death sentence, unfortunately. But nevertheless, they got Stand United, so Evil Geniuses will be very happy with that trade. And right now, Ocelot's left alone to fend off against 3 members of the Geniuses.
Yeah, we are going to see Nasus and Elise both coming up to this one, but they need to get in there now. This could well be the final outer turret down. And it is going very low very quickly. EG are going to have this one away. We talk about how they played the map perfectly early on to take down the Copenhagen Wolves and secure the 4th spot here in the European LCS. And they're doing the same right now, moving from tower to tower and just taking those objectives. It's
a systematic destruction of the towers on the map, and they're rolling around. SK don't seem to be on the same page when it comes to actually, you know, where they need to be to defend off the, you know, the EG aggression. What I do like is a pickup here from Snoopy again on his jungle Melzahar. The Spirit of the Spectral Wraith has been completed, so going to give him some good ability power, some good spell vamp, and obviously all of that regeneration. It's what we like to call a selfish spell vamp item. And it does work, and it complements his statistics so incredibly well.
Well, that's the thing. It might be selfish for him, but if he can help get kills elsewhere, definitely going to help out. Now it's Kevin's turn to be on the run, as Snoopy is going to come in here as well. Nice taunt comes out. Is he going to be able to get in there for the ultimate here? Chasing in, there is a suppression, and it's going to be a lot of damage, but not enough to finish off Kevin. But Froggen chasing him down again. Kevin going to head back to the safety of his jungle.
Froggen either didn't listen to Snoopy's call, or Snoopy didn't tell Froggen that he was going, because Froggen backed off. He went back to pick up some CS, and then Melzahar put his ultimate down, and it was a perfect ultimate, but there was no Malefic Visions, there was no Voidling bashing away, and more importantly, there was no Froggen. On top of all of that, Froggen didn't even have his ultimate. So they were trying to pick up a kill on the tankiest member of the team with only one of the 2 ultimates. So not 100% convinced by that gank, but nevertheless, they do at least force him out of the lane and pick up some free CS for Froggen.
Yeah, and Froggen, earlier on, obviously did play a very strong Twisted Fate push, split push game, and that's another thing that Zed can do very, very well here. We saw it in our last game, for example, with Bjergsen, and it looks like that's going to be the plan here once again. The Dragon going to be up in less than 2 minutes' time.
But take a look at the positioning. The Ashe arrow is down, and it's caught Crepo. Here's the fight.
Yeah, there is the taunt coming in as well. The Cocoon will land, boxes down, but Crepo not going to have time to react to that one. There's a Varus ultimate coming in as well. Wicked going low. The kill on Kevin does come down as well. Ocelot has to use intervention on himself, and Wicked now being chased, but he's still crucially alive from this one. Nif now is in a little bit of trouble. Cocoon lands, flash used. Ocelot trying to burst down Froggen, and what was a very, very long fight ended with just 1 kill for 1.
Yeah, so they traded 1 for 1, but they traded support for top laner. Stand United is not available in a fight, so it couldn't be used to continue fighting. And Kevin was pretty much left for dead. He tried to zone out members of EG, and at the same time, you know, Wicked and Froggen were able to jump in there and push out members of SK. So a good fight for both teams, to be fair. They both had good aggressive play, and they both managed to survive fairly low, but no clear winner right now, even though EG have the gold lead.
Slot pushing that top lane out. Dangerous. There are 3 men there for EG, including Snoopy, who's right now going to be doing this. Blue buff, obviously, with those Voidlings in there, doesn't take any damage either while going through the jungle. That's one of the real big bonuses here of Malzahar. Going to do the same to the Wolves. We did see the red buff for EG going over onto Yellow Pete. Meanwhile, Wicked stole the red buff of SK.
So Malzahar with that blue buff again, obviously just going to allow him to continue farming safely and hold on to that. We'll see whether or not those red buff steals become of any importance once the next team fights break out. For the time being, in that particular engagement, Yellow Pete again had great positioning. For a moment, as EG were backing away, I thought he was going to be in trouble. The Ash Arrow has caught him out.
Yeah, cleansed away though by Yellow Pete and will be saved by the Lantern. And that's, you know, apart from the hooks, that's one of the big advantages of having the Thresh. That Lantern comes in handy so often.
Yeah, it's really, really powerful for saving your teammates. That's 2 for 2 as far as arrows are concerned for Candy Panda. The last time we seen him running Ash, I had to call him out. He missed one in a 40-minute game. So I was not very impressed with that, and we'll see whether or not he can maintain the 99% accuracy that he had from the previous game.
Well, Spider's thrown in here as those wards put down on top of a ping, which quite interesting there because the ward was cleared previous to that one as well. As Froggen and Kevin going to go head-to-head here. Deathmark going to do a lot of damage onto him, but Froggen is coming out not on top of this one. It's all about Kevin, who got blocked a little bit there by the minions. Wicked is coming in around the side, and Kevin will actually back away from this one without going down, but also Froggen, with that presence of Wicked, was saved.
So Froggen does not have any armor penetration right now, which is the reason he couldn't burst down Kevin. But they traded back and forth, and that actually bodes pretty well for Froggen because he was dealing well with that very tanky Shen. Now SK Gaming have position and numbers advantage on Dragon. They've got it very, very low, but EG are thinking about a fight.
Nicely done by SK. They're going to take that one away, and that brings them to within 2,000 gold here of Evil Geniuses. A game which they... for SK, it's more from their point to prove that they're worth that third place that they've got wrapped up for this season and not lose to them the fourth place team in this final game.
Yeah, and remember that they've got a 2-1 heads-up record with Evil Geniuses, so they've done it before, and you know, if you go on historical evidence, they should be able to do it again. In terms of that Dragon engagement, we had a great cocoon from Nif to zone out EG. Yellow Pete and Crepper were sort of, you know, inching forward, edging in view, and all of a sudden this cocoon comes flying out, and they're like, well, you know, we're not really fans of spider web, so we'll let you have that one. So well played by SK. They've kept it within 2K. They've stunned up Snoopy, and there's the Ghost.
Yeah, well, that's a great ultimate coming out of Yellow Pete, but is it going to be enough to save Snoopy in this one? No, but the Lantern will be. The hook comes in onto Kevin. Suppression for a half mile there across the map. Well, Hercubot is going to die. It's Froggen that picks that one up. He's going to keep going in here on towards Kevin. The death mark is down, not enough, and a great cocoon from across the side there from Nif will save him. Well, that was an amazing turnaround from EG without the Varus ultimate coming and landing in there in the right position, and you know, Snoopy's ultimate, the suppression there coming in as well. That would have been a different fight.
Man of the fight was that Chain of Corruption, completely shut down that SK advance. They're a team that needs to run in. Even more importantly, Stand United was on the back of Hercubot, so when he got rooted in place, that meant Kevin got rooted in place. We've seen another save from the Dark Passage, pulling Snoopy to safety, and he responded instantly by locking up Kevin. So great play from EG. They're going to need to be a little bit careful because if Snoopy gets into this mindset that he can just use that Nether Grasp on Kevin's Shen every time, Candy Panda and Ocelot are going to have free reign to deal damage in a team fight. So we'll need to watch how that goes, but for the time being, it's working out for them. Let's
talk about the items between the AD carries while we're on the topic of Candy Panda. BF Sword, Pickaxe, Berserker Greaves, Double Doran's Blade. Already the Blade of the Ruin King in there for Varus with the Berserker Greaves and a Pickaxe as well.
So the Blade of the Ruin King is going to be doing a lot of work onto the likes of Kevin and Hercubot because of the fact that they are obviously building HP and they're fairly naturally tanky champions. On the other side of the coin, Ash is going to be tearing through Malzahar, Zed, Varus, and Thresh because he's Candy Panda will eventually have that Infinity Edge. So you've got two very different builds, but when you consider that it's Kevin and Hercubot as the scary frontline champions that Varus has to deal with, it makes perfect sense.
There was a Hawk Shot coming out from Candy Panda, and they knew that they were actually coming in the jungle. I think the Hawk Shot was more to scare them away there, thinking, oh, we've been revealed, we better back off from this one and not challenge for that red buff, which Candy Panda did take down there in the end. So, 3,200 gold lead is what EG have right now. 4-1 in turrets. They've already taken that middle inner turret down there. We can see the difference between the different lanes there. Actually, the top lane is ridiculously close with just a 130 or so difference between them. Middle lane 7,000 to 5,200. That's mainly due to Froggen's 2-0-1.
And of course the 40 CS that's thrown in there.
Yeah.
And of course the dragons, the towers, etc. So all those objectives are going to play into his favor. But at the moment, Froggen has not blown anybody up. I mean, if you think about the Zed play in the last 20 minutes, he tried to go toe-to-toe with Kevin. He couldn't make that work. He does now have a last whisper, though. So that's definitely going to help in those particular engagements. We have as many towers killed as we have champion deaths in the game right now. This is a game of strategic chess, and right now Evil Geniuses are moving their champions into play to catch out the Surgeon. He's about to run face first into Thresh, and we'll see whether or not EG can chase him, because he's being super cheeky and just running through the river.
I was going to say, if by face first you mean not at all, then you're definitely right with that one. Shen doing a great move to get off around the side. Due to that ward that they had up there by the red buff, saw them coming. Kevin gets to safety there with the rest of his team in that middle lane. Really nicely done. Candy Panda is pushing the top lane out as well, something that EG will have to reply to here shortly. And you can see they're already starting to head north up the river.
So Kevin, being the ninja, he just avoids detection like only ninjas can, does a big loop around, goes back to the bottom lane to carry on farming and split pushing. But what we do see is the Evil Genius is starting off a relatively early Baron. This will be the third earliest Baron if they succeed, because Fnatic got one in 15 minutes, Gambit got one in 18 minutes. Instead, they go, maybe this isn't the best of decisions, and back away quite wisely. But look at the vision for EG around that Baron pit. It is very clear that this is an objective they would like to challenge for.
Yeah, it certainly is. The wards as well in there, including that pink at the front, will allow them to clear things out, but it's still very risky this early on. Always is going to be. But also, you know, with the items that they've got in there, double Blade of the Ruin King, for example, it's possible.
You have taken the words out of my mouth. With the double Blades of the Ruin King, the percentage HP, and the null zone, that's definitely going to help them shred neutral objectives like that very, very quickly. But very wise that they do decide to back away. It's one of those objectives where if you try force it early and lose it, you end up, you know, throwing the next 5 to 10 minutes of the game away, because it's so much to come back from if it doesn't go your way. We do see, though, is Wicked and Snoopy starting this one out, and then the call is like, no, we don't. So a little bit of maybe confusion from Evil Geniuses. They're not quite sure what they should be doing, because they've gone back and forth a number of times.
Yeah, and SK had lost all vision of it there. They were pinging like mad over towards the Baron pit. And we will see a ward finally go down there in the back of it as Wicked spots that one. Well, Slice and Dice back into the Baron pit, takes that one down, and SK once more have no vision of any possible attempt on that Baron.
Nothing at all. Another, you know, big item has been just completed for Snoopy. The Leandri's Torment has been completed. So that damage over time and the HP-related damage is just going to be significantly more powerful. And we need to keep close eyes on how quickly Kevin and Hercubot's champions will get dropped by those respective abilities. Time being, though, it's still a 2,000 gold lead. This game just balances on a knife edge. The Dragon has respawned. Now, SK Gaming, they are trying to challenge for this. Stand United is available from Kevin, and we'll look for the Ash Arrow to open up the initiation. It has hit 3 out of 3 so far, and that's the 4th one.
Yeah, and they've got in for Snoopy there with that. I mean, you do see the Dragon being taken down by EG. There's a hook landing, but onto Kevin. Not the ideal target. He'll try and flay them away as the box comes in. Chain of Corruption comes down. Ocelot going to get popped there, and he's not even used intervention. That's a key play in this one, as we will see Ash die as well. EG still pushing through. Nif's going to go down. Kevin going to be the next one to be focused. Double kill Renekton, and that's a 4-for-0 right now. There's Hercubot. Are they going to chase? I could imagine that they chase and then do Baron at this stage.
What a fantastic fight from Evil Geniuses. A 4-for-0 plus Dragon. How on earth did Froggen go in to 4 members of SK Gaming and not die? It does not compute. But great play from them, and very good counter-engage from EG. They ran further down the river, then re-engaged with the rest of their abilities. Very well played, and unfortunately, Ocelot again does not get that intervention off. I mentioned at the beginning of the game, it's one of his ultimates. He just doesn't always land when he needs to. And Evil Geniuses, they pick up Baron. Pressure is on.
Yeah, and that would have prolonged the fight, but the fact that it was so one-sided tells me that intervention in the end might not have made the biggest of differences, but certainly would have prolonged things and have had a slightly different outcome to it. It's allowed not only those 4 kills to come in, but more importantly, that Baron, a massive chunk of gold to spend for Evil Geniuses who have just gone home. Let's run through some of the purchases here from that pickup. We had, let me have a look. Last Whisper picked up for Varus, Locket of the Iron Solari, and the Sightstone upgraded, so Ruby Sightstone coming out of Crepo.
And just a needlessly large rod for the jungler of Malzahar. You know, no problem, bro. The magic damage that's coming out from him is going to be very, very scary indeed. You don't have a traditional tank outside of Renekton. He hasn't built DPS just yet, but you've got 3 very scary damage threats. And what I like about this composition, and you know, teams that run sort of AP Zyras, is that the longer the game goes, the scarier the team comp becomes. SK, however, have got 4 potential damage threats because Elise can do a very similar thing. But SK are simply not at that position just yet. They are way behind in gold and global objectives, and that is why they simply don't have as many big items completed.
Absolutely correct. So we're going to be getting the blue buff here. As Evil Geniuses with that Baron buff on, you know, expecting to see a very typical EG thing here, which is go completely tutorial style. Kevin in this bottom lane is in a lot of trouble now as the Deathmark explodes, takes half of his health away. Frog not quite got the damage to finish though.
Not quite just yet. Even with the Sunfire Cape and that Giant's Belt, it's going to be enough for Kevin to stay alive. Froggen landed a lot of good damage down, but it does mean that they can take this tower for free, forcing Kevin out of the lane. That's effectively Kevin's lane. He wants to split push. He wants to just go down there, and it couldn't happen. Crepo just puts the ward down, but you can see that Nif is going to be able to just remove that. Pink ward is down. They're going to clear out the vision. Look for a death sentence to land. Deathmark is not available for Froggen either, so that's a very, very critical ultimate. It's not available to be used.
We are seeing Ignites coming up across the board. Ghost will be in there soon as well as Nif going to get jumped on from this one. He actually will repel. He had the intervention on him there as well. As soon as he comes down, he catches the arrow out of Yellow Pete. And that is another kill on the board for Evil Geniuses. But more importantly, that cocoon out of play for SK now. Yellow
Pete drawing that composite bow to full power with his Q-piercing arrow and just blows up Nif the second he lands. They get the first inhibitor turret of the game, and SK are nowhere near. They're not even going to challenge for this. This is a free inhibitor. Evil Geniuses have just got themselves a 10,000 gold lead. They still have Baron buff. They have an inhibitor down, and they now have complete control of this map.
Yeah, rest of SK backing off, but EG, they've got gold of their own to spend from this one. They've got minions to push up middle. Top lane is quite heavily pushed down as we see the Hawk shot just revealing a little bit of the area there for Evil Geniuses. Let's have a look what they go home to buy this time. We now have a 3-0-4 for Frog and 1-0-5 for Yellow Pete. There is a Randuin's Omen added in for Renekton. We did see a Bulwark, by the way, being picked up earlier on by Nasus. That's definitely going to help SK out a little bit, but I have to feel that once these items start coming in even more, it's going to be bad news. There's still 1,000 gold for Froggen to spend as well when he goes back.
You've also got to remember that Runic Bulwark or the Aegis of the Legion has not been picked up by Evil Geniuses just yet. So as the game goes on and that damage becomes less likely to just insta-kill someone, that's when there's those aura items are going to become very, very important. But the Randuin's Omen on Wicked is very, very key for keeping Shen and Nasus and Ashe out of the fight. Slow their attack speed, slow their movement speed. Don't allow them to get in there and to control the pace of the game. But with super minions in the bottom lane, it alleviates a lot of pressure from the Evil Geniuses.
That is a static Shiv actually picked up by Candy Panda. Gonna be clearing out a lot with that, that's for sure. Did see the crit cloak and a pickaxe picked up as well for Yellow Pete on the other side. Giant's belt for Froggen as well. The smaller items on that last shopping trip. But look at this inner turret. EG walk in there. Not a single thing that SK Gaming can do about it. That's how far behind they are now.
Yeah, and they weren't even in position to try and defend it. They just simply were not around at all. So, well played by EG to realize that there was an exposed tower. You can see that massive, massive wave of minions on the bottom line pushing up. That will include super minions. Right now, Evil Geniuses are stacked up as 5. Baron has worn off. And you'll just see those malefic visions jumping from minion to minion and see if they can catch some SK members as well.
And this is something that SK need to calculate in their defense now. The fact that super minions are coming up. There's a Hawk shot just burnt to make sure that everyone was around for EG.
And of course, the Hawk Shot does tend to be followed by the Crystal Arrow of Candy Panda. It tends to be how he opens up. Make sure he has full vision, and then he lands that ultimate down. With that Baron not being there, and with Kevin having Stand United available, they could decide to initiate or start a fight. Right now, Wicked's tanking up the turret just a little bit. Yellow Pete's getting some good damage down. Well, it's actually not all that much. It's only 2 hits, but they'll be working that up shortly. Well, Froggen's pushing the mid lane. It's evil geniuses right now, because SK, they don't really know what to do.
Yeah, and look how slow they've reacted to this one as well. EG gonna get it away. Froggen dashes out from the Ash Arrow. He actually then hit Yellow Pete behind him, who cleansed that one off. There is the defense now on the inhibitor. They need to hold on to this one.
So Cleanse is down. If they manage to taunt him up or land a cocoon onto Yellow Pete, they can drop him. But he's not the only damage threat. Intervention needs to save whoever gets attacked by that death mark of Froggen. And then they need to drop the likes of Yellow Pete and Snoopy next. Wicked will deal a lot of damage over time, but he's going to need a lot of time to burst someone down. He's got no damage items, and there's the flash taunt.
Flash is coming in, but here comes Chain of Corruption, and Kevin is going to not quite go down. The intervention did come in. The box down by Crepo. Nif will die on the bottom side. Ocelot gone very, very low as he tries to get back over on towards a fountain. He will escape from that, but EG have taken down inhibitor number 2, and they may just try and finish off here as the hook will land on Kevin as well. A ton of more damage comes out. Snoopy gets that one.
Froggen still has death mark available. SK are on the counter attack though. Can they get any extra frags?
Ocelot just chasing there after Yellow Pete. He used a lantern to get away. Wicked does go down to Ocelot in the end. Hercubot couldn't quite follow up there, even with that ghost pot. And yeah, they'll quite happily take that 1 kill from that push that they've just done. They took inhibitor in the bottom lane and in that top lane. They've done some damage to the inhibitor turret in the top lane as well. They're taking away blue buff. The Dragon's there for the taking.
And yeah, it's a complete decimation right now. SK Gaming, they seem to be floundering a little bit. It's almost as though they don't know what to do with themselves when you're watching them on the map. Evil Geniuses, on the other hand, they've got reformed vigor. This is the team that will be facing the Copenhagen Wolves next weekend in a best of 3, and you can bet anything that the Copenhagen Wolves are watching this going, we know what to prepare. We know what to think about. They're taking notes on how to beat EG. It's a very, very important matchup.
Yeah, the problem that EG seem to have, though, is that different EGs turn up on different weekends here, or at least that's been the case so far. Today, though, looking very, very good. They'll need that form surely next week when they play against another informed team in the form of Copenhagen Wolves. Other purchases, what have we seen here? Frozen Mallet was taken by Froggen, so, you know, healthy, good damage, and he's going to be slowing you while he's chasing you down. You don't escape from that, Zed. In terms of Malzahar there in the jungle, Blasting Wand, that needlessly large rod in there as well. And this game has been a lot more successful. We can safely say that for the Malzahar of Snoopy.
Yeah, no question about it. In addition to that, the Frozen Mallet, that's something that we actually seen Bjergsen doing earlier today. So we'll see, you know, how this build works out for Froggen. He's currently 4-0-5, no deaths, along with Snoopy and along with Yellow Pete. So as far as the carries, the people that need to stay alive they're doing a very, very good job of it thus far. Yellow Pete is about to pick up that Infinity Edge. He's got almost enough gold, and that's obviously going to just give him another massive power spike. Baron has respawned. Evil Geniuses, they position themselves for this. They've got the wards in place, and it does look like they're going to go for this one.
Yeah, wards are down. EG starting off the Baron in full force. Will SK do anything about this one? Stand United is available. Well, they're just too late to get anywhere near. There's the hook landing onto Hercubot. They decide not to follow over, or at least they thought they did. Froggen went over there in the end. The rest of EG coming a long way around that Baron pit, and now they're pushing things down. They're pinging to the top lane, and they are going to do it in, you know, the style that we expect from EG, which is by the book, every single turret, every single inhibitor, and then go for the win.
So they do see that opening, and they're just going to allow the super minions to push in and do some of the work for them. We'll see how quickly they can get in there. And inhibitors respawned, and within 2 seconds of it coming back to life, the construction crew are just like, come on, man, we just got that finished. The inhibitor drops again. The middle inhibitor will be up in probably a minute or so's time. And now Evil Geniuses, they're just going to roll around to the top lane, allow the super minions to do the work in the bottom lane, and they're going to try finish out this game. Like you said, by the book, the textbook numbers of just 1, 2, 3. Close out their spring split with a win.
Well, they're up with the minions now onto that inhibitor turret. Look at the health of it. Already taken about a quarter its damage as Hawk goes flying in, doesn't quite connect. Bit of poke coming out from Froggen there, as does Yellow's Pete with that piercing arrow.
So we'll see how this goes right now. Crystal Arrow is still available, and Evil Geniuses are playing very, very brave. And we're tanking up the turret for quite a while, and you can just tell by their positioning on the steps, they are no longer afraid of SK Gaming.
SK defending on top of the Nexus turrets. They've managed to catch Wicked out though. Kevin taking a lot of damage. He's inside of the box. Is he going to go down? Intervention is on him. Well, Ocelot will actually find the fury here of Yellow Pete as Varus goes down. Candy Panda trying to run. The Ignite was ticking. I think Froggen thought he got the kill there, but Candy Panda escaped. Either way, first Nexus turret going to go down. Second one will follow very quickly here, and it's up to Nif, Hercubot and Candy Panda to stop the Nexus going down. They know it's going to happen, and Evil Geniuses will take down SK Gaming in the final game here of the LCS Europe Spring Split. Great performance.
Evil Geniuses in complete control of that game from the get-go. They never let the ball slip. Both Snoopy and Froggen walk away untouched, 0 deaths in that game. Great clinical play and a well-deserved victory.